Good morning, everyone, and welcome to the PivotBoss Pre-Market Report for Thursday, February 22nd, 2018. I'm Frank Ochoa, aka PivotBoss. Here's a look at the daily time frame of the ES. We see a continued chop around the midpoint of that larger impulse range. That's something we talked about before, that whenever we get a range this large, where you get a major impulse swing move downward, boom, real big compared to what we've seen in the past, there's a tendency for price to chop around that middle section for a while. And in that zone, it can be very difficult to really get your bearings about yourself. It makes for some good intraday day trading type of opportunities back and forth, but on a swing basis, it can be difficult to position yourself unless you're really at the edges. And so again, not a whole lot to do here in the middle right now. We obviously see the trend is still up for the most part. Failing to get a failed new low the last couple of days, trying again today. Really would need to take out the mid here from yesterday's session in order to push higher toward 47s. But overall, this market here has been chopping around this 2703, and we could see more chop until we see a decisive move on a swing basis. So we're still kind of in a holding pattern here with an upward bias, at least in the short term. Let's take a look at the NQ here. The NQ is very, very similar to the ES. Obviously, big impulse swing move down here that we've seen. So big sell-off, boom, drop into the LVN and a push back to the mid. And now price is actually trading in the upper portion of the distribution here, trading above that 66.53, but below the previous month's close and hasn't quite gotten to the FOMC key level of 131. That's going to be the 69.65 quarter level I mentioned before. That as long as price holds here in this uptrend short term, we're likely going to see that price at some point down the road here, especially after price printed that FOMC key level, took it offered, continued downward until it rejected, and usually it comes right back to that level. So again, we're in an uptrending phase. We continue to hold above the midpoint of 66.53.75. That suggests we could see another push toward 69.25 down the road, 69.65.25 down the road. All right, let's take a look here at crude oil. Here's a look at crude. Again, crude oil just now defining a really nice impulse range. Nice sell-off from that high down to the bottom. We talked about this yesterday. Great key range. We hit the midpoint at 62.18, and now this looks very similar to the ES and NQ right now. We're kind of back toward the middle. These boundaries are going to give us some great edges to watch for future directional trades. For example, down here we could watch for traps and squeezes. Up here, trap and return back down, or even expansion at some point down the road. We'll see expansion, and then we can play to the 50% target and the 100% target above or below, depending upon which way we break. So we got great boundaries here. Again, short term, the direction is up, and so these pullbacks here, failed new lows, suggest that we could be looking at another push higher. Again, that could take us back towards 63 and even back to its FOMC key level from January 30th, which is 64.38. So we could still have some more upside here in the near term over the next week or so. So we're going to continue to watch that very closely. But again, 62 is a very clear area of resistance at the moment. All right, let's take a look now at GC. There's GC right there, gold futures. Let's kind of zoom in a little bit here, get a little closer to it. For the most part, here GC has shown that it continues to stay within this range. That's 1365. Down here is about 1309. You can see support here, resistance here, support here, resistance here. Yesterday what I mentioned was after this big day, we could be looking at a continuation toward 1317. Maybe even bound here to retest those lows at 1309. So what we're looking for was any failed new highs today. Clearly yesterday, especially after the FOMC minutes, everything kind of tumbled, including gold dropping and closing to the day's lows. So pullbacks here currently being defended. Again, the path right now is to this 1317. And right now we're trading 1326. So we still have a little bit more time before we get there. And we could even see a little move down here toward 1309. If we do, it'd be an opportunity to look for another trap below these lows or around that area and a return back up toward 1338 and perhaps back up across the range as well. So that's what we'll be looking for in gold. And lastly, taking a look at Bitcoin futures. Here is XBT. Again, this was very, very bullish here in the short term. Really nice movement to the upside overall. You can see after this rejection tail, very steady move. We got a big day up here, the biggest day we've seen, right into and almost at that 12K level. And that's the level I mentioned before is kind of like the major level to watch. That is the LVN right there, the CLVN, the low volume node on the composite profile, and that's a significant area of resistance that kind of separates this price distribution from the price distribution above. And if you can't get above this level, usually you come right back toward 9K or 10K, and that's kind of what we're doing right now back at 98.30. Now, what we talked about in the trading room here is, a lot of traders are going to start watching for the potential head and shoulder type of pattern to develop. And so that's what's kind of playing out right now. It's an inverse. We have this price distribution, then you have this one, and now perhaps you're going to be developing this one where it can do this. That might suggest this type of move. Again, we'll just have to see how that develops, but any failure to hold 9K will break that solution. So basically, if it comes to 9K, it could trade between 9 and 12 for a little while, just like this, before we see the next expansion like this. So that's what we'll be looking for in Bitcoin. All right, really quickly before we leave, another bit of news here. If you go to PivotBossMasters.com, there's a special offer link here. There's a live training link here. Also a little banner everywhere here that's talking about our live training schedule that's been announced for Masters. You can click on the details here. It'll give you much more details. And basically you can see the special offer that comes up here and what Masters is about. But if you click a little bit lower here, upcoming live training schedule. So if you're in Masters, you're going to get all these courses here. It's a 5-day live training event. Market structure principles and concepts, advanced risk and portfolio management, quantifying volatility with ADR, trading with FOMC key levels, and retraining your beliefs as a trader. Those are the 5-day courses that we'll be working with here the first full week of March. Again, if you're a Masters member, this is all yours free. If you want to jump in as a Masters member, we got a great deal for you. All future live training and all future on-demand videos are all yours at no additional cost once you come into Masters. So it's a great program right now. If you don't have Masters, you'll get Swing Trade Pro, the 3-part course, the original, free as a throw-in. You also get 1 month of premium trading room access, $99 value, and you'll get the access to the 5-day live training session. And that's all for $9.95. And again, there's a 30-day money-back guarantee and no questions asked. So risk-free offer for a lot of great training. And this is just the tip of the iceberg, this 5-day. There's hours, over 60 hours of training, working towards 100 hours of training back at the on-demand dashboard for the Masters members. So great deal to check out. PivotBossMasters.com/profits if you want to come to the actual page. All right, that's it for now. Let's see how this plays out heading into the rest of the session. Good luck and trade well.